Hi, good morning. This is reflection for inquiry cycle number 3. Um, for this inquiry cycle, I concentrated on adapting a resource that I already had. I use for this purpose, I use Google Slides to modify and create at the different points of view because I wanted to really create a separation that the students will be able to easily observe between the narrator, which I separated and named it narration, and also between the conversations that were taking place between the different characters within the story. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you this right here on the screen real quick so I can talk about it. So let me just go back to it. Okay, I have it right here, share. Okay. All right, so what we're looking at, this is the whole slide that I created. So right here, I was able to go from the story that I had, which you would click on it and then it would read the narration. So, but it wouldn't tell the stories. This is a narration. The students are usually sharpening their listening skills, but initially they would only hear narration. They wouldn't break it down more definitive, like they would so in a way that they would be able to tell, oh, that is a narrator describing what is happening on this scene. To them, if I wouldn't have broken it up into parts like this, it would just be a person speaking in Spanish. Yes, we're in Spanish class, and like in any other language, in order to communicate properly, the author or the narrators need to be able to switch from one point of view, let's say first person point of view when they're engaging in conversation, and switch to usually third person point of view when they're describing what is happening on the screen. Now, this is very important that the students understand this so that they can understand and they can see and make sense of all the conjugation charts, the conjugation of the verbs that we do every day. Why do we do those? Okay, and specifically, we do those so when it comes time for them to narrate a story, they should be using third person point of view, and they should be using first and second person when they're having people interacting. Now, from this thing that I created right here, I added several other things as a scaffolding to help the students, keep the rhythm, follow, keep the flow of the conversation. So if you're looking at scene number 3, for example, I added the emotion that this person is feeling at that time. I also provided an explanation to why this guy is feeling that emotion. If you move on to scene number 4, I provided the emotion that this character is feeling, and additionally, not an explanation because the explanation to that is embedded within the narration right here. I provided another step right here, which is the action that this character is performing, which in this case is crying. Additionally, I added an apology without purposely telling the students, oh, lo siento means I am sorry in Spanish. I just added right here, this is an apology. Okay, this causes them to actually read and figure out so they can start making sense. Oh, in Spanish, an apology is said by repeating these words, lo siento. How do you ask forgiveness? There's a difference between apology and asking for forgiveness. Okay, these are the two things that I added right here. Also on the bottom right here, I added common expressions that people would say based on what they're reading on the narration or based on what they're observing the characters doing on each scene. So basically from this basic scene right here, I was able to create a full-blown conversation by providing the students with simple vocabulary, in regards to what they're seeing when I projected the whole scenery on the hovercam. So I provided additional vocabulary, which was helped or aided by the use of cognates. I was able to explain very easily what cognates meant by just simply having a lot of cognates everywhere, like narración, very close to narration, explicación, very close to explanation, emoción, very close to emotion. The use of cognates right here is throughout the whole scenario right here. Now, from there, by providing the students with simple additional vocabulary like escena número uno, scene number one, escena dos, I was able to ask simple questions. What do you see on a scene number one? What do you see on scene number two? Or who is on scene number one? Who is in scene number two? Now, from then, just by having these 4 scenes projected on the board, there's a whole lot of questions that I was able to stem from there. What are they doing on a scene number one? What do they say on a scene number one? So from there, very easily, I had the students reading. What do they say? What do the wolf says on scene number two? The students understood that I was asking them to read specifically, right? I didn't have to say, so please read over here. I would just simply have to say, what is this character saying? What is this character thinking? What is the action? Then I started to ask more complicated questions. Why is this character doing this? Why is this character feeling this way? Why is this character, and the explanations are provided. They're provided right here. So simply, if the students were having a hard time, all I had to do was use my laser pointer and point to them. Explicación. Point them to the explanation. They would have to read and find out why is the person reading. So it wasn't just a matter of Spanish vocabulary. There's a lot of higher thinking questions. I know my students, so I know which ones are more advanced in language proficiency. So I changed the level of questions to them. I started asking them like, not to trick them, but to force them to think. Instead of asking simple questions that they were hearing, who is in scene number 3, I would ask questions like, why is the wolf crying on scene number 3? And I could see their reaction. Wait, there's no wolf in scene number 3. There you go. That was the answers that I was trying to get out of them. There is no wolf on scene number 3. Realize it. Okay, they were making the realizations that I was trying to get them to think beyond the regular and the easier questions that I was asking the other students. So from there, from their responses, I was able to introduce new vocabulary on regards to there is not, something wasn't happening here in this scene, and they would actually provide more elaborated responses on why or why not the answer that they provided, to provide the reasons why I was wrong or I was trying to get them to think to higher levels. So I think this way adaptive version that I did helped me a lot. Students had something to hold on, to follow the conversation, to go back to the questions. And from there, I took it to the next step because I don't want it just always to be the same steps. The next step will be to create comprehension questions. Now, all the answers to the comprehension questions are here. I can ask where, what, who, why, based on this little paper right here that all my students got. And this is the first time I tried this, and I think that it went great. And the more that they get exposed to this format that I created right here, the better that they're going to be able to understand the questions, process the information that I'm asking in Spanish, and at the same time, think logically. So it wouldn't be just memorizing vocabulary. I am taking them in a way where I'm working with logical thinking, and at the same time, they're going to be absorbing the language in a manner that is more natural. Of course, I have other activities where we practice the vocabulary, but these are to add on. This is where I want them to think logically and to pay attention. And this is just the beginning. This is 4 mini stories that I'm gonna use before we actually get into a major story that is gonna um, recycle all the vocabulary from the 3 mini stories. And finally, that's the point where I want to get to that story, which is going to be not so much cartoonish like it looks right here, and it's going to be like a little bit more complex story. So I need to build them to that point, and eventually after that, I want to get to the point where they're going to write their own stories and create their own story using the vocabulary that we're going to see throughout the 3 mini stories. Okay, I also had a conversation in regards to that with my reflective coach, Adriana. She happened to come and observe this. We had a great talk. Many other questions came up besides my point of inquiry for this cycle. Many questions on how I could improve some other things like, happened during the observation in regards to student behavior, or how can I improve accountability while doing certain activities during the class. So in fact, I'm very happy about the outcome of this cycle and the outcome that it produced on the students. Okay, so I hope this reflection will work for you. Has been a great learning experience for me. Thank you very much.